So most Sunday mornings I get together with a friend of mine here in Arizona, including today. I'm recording this on a Sunday uh, to talk religion, spirituality, and philosophy. I guess I would combine all three. So this morning was no different. The conversation goes a thousand different directions for a couple hours. It's kind of my Sunday ritual often when we're both in town. And we were talking today about, and I talk often about the role and impact of nature on my life and my spiritual journey and my own understanding of my humanity and how important that has been. And he asked me today if I could tell him more about what that looks like. We're sitting there, and I look outside. There's a tree right outside where we're sitting, and I'm like, what do you notice? Like, what do you notice first? Like me, I noticed there were brown edges on on some of the brown on some of the leaves, and so that's where I go. It's like, all right, at the moment, that's what's speaking to me. It's like what's speaking to you at the moment when you look at that tree, at that plant, that whatever it might be that you that kind of catches your eye when you go outside. And the great thing about using nature as a tool in that way, one, it's a recognition that we we're interconnected with nature. We have a tendency, I think, as humans, to split ourselves. That that's out there. I'm here, and me, the human, is the more dominant of the two. I know things. I have reason. I have a brain. I have all these things that us as humans have convinced ourselves makes us superior over so many other things. And yet that's probably why it is such a has been such an important tool for me, because like I look at that branch and see those edges that are burnt and immediately say, all right, well, one of my life is feeling burnt and dead at this moment that I might still be holding on to, that I need to let go of. And certainly there are plenty of things. So sometimes it's the idea of a person in our lives rather than the person themselves. So we have expectations that we often have to let go of. But I think the great thing about nature and approaching it that way is it is non-judgmental. It is not there to judge me. It is not there to question it. It is not there to tell me how it should be. It In nature, it just is. I immediately, as a human, want to attach meaning to all of it, when in reality, it might just be teaching me you need to let something die. Something is looking to die within you in order for that leaf to be replaced with a new one, with something new, with something fresh. And I've been in some of the most beautiful parts of this country that has spoken to me in one way or another. And I think poets, anytime you experience poetry that is written about nature, often puts words to those experiences that we don't always experience between humans. And so in those moments of like today, just reflecting upon that tree and looking at those leaves and acknowledging right away what it is that stands out to me is it's a mirror. I think, for lack of better terms, nature becomes a mirror into my own inner world. And because we don't always have the language for heart and soul, it not only gives us the words, but it gives us the image that helps us describe what it is we're feeling and what we're experiencing in our lives. Even if it is burnt edges, like what the heck are burnt edges? And yet, for some reason, that something in me was moved by that image of those burnt leaves. And the natural reaction, and I have done this many times over, is like, well, why can't I have that leaf? And why can't I be that tree? And why can't I be this? And why can't I? All of it to avoid, like, no, this is who I am. And in that sense, I'm still perfect in that way, because that's just the natural process of nature. And why we don't think it would be the natural process for us is beyond me. That death is a part of the natural process of our lives, that in order to make room for something else, for something more, we got to be willing to let go. We all know, speaking of nature as well, forest fires, as destructive as they can be, and it's often destructive on the human side of things because we, in some ways, intrude on that space and take advantage of that space. Forest fires are what cleanse forests. It's what clears it out in order for new life to take shape. So there, like, even in that, in what can be seen as something devastating, and has been devastating many times, even this year alone, uh, is a means to cleansing and a letting go of what was, in order for space for something new to evolve, to take shape, to, and if you like religious language, to incarnate into this world. And it's our best teacher. It is the first teacher. I've heard it described that way. If you come from a biblical tradition, our nature is our first teacher. It's the very beginning of the Bible, and it has had such a profound impact on my life that I never could have imagined. And he asked me today, like, how did that start? Where did it all begin? And I still remember my first retreat that I had ever gone to in Pennsylvania, and it was very, to start, very sensory. Like, go out and feel the bark on the tree, and smell what you smell, and hear the birds, and all this other stuff, and to begin to recognize that in order for me to be whole, I have to acknowledge that all of these things are a part of me. And as I said earlier, it is such a great mirror into what is, without judgment, without fear, without bias, without comparison, without trying to be something other than you really are. There is nature is that gift. Nature is that tool. And the more we could dive into it, I mean, I think of my time living on the farm in West Virginia as well. One of the greatest parts of that experience was just being surrounded by that day in and day out, and being able to go on the edge of the porch and and ride the swing and watch sunsets and watch sunrises and watch the gradual process of growth taking shape from something that was put into the earth. And and clearing it and honing it and all this other stuff, to recognize how much was coming up in me when I would do that kind of stuff as well, because I felt so connected to it. It felt so much a part of who I am. And to be able to watch that process as things unfold is beauty, but also is great in terms of patience, that it takes time, that growth cannot be rushed, it cannot be forced. It is something that will gradually evolve and break forth from the ground. But even that seed, I see large trees outside here, and the years and years and years that it's taken for that tree to get to that place. But it all started with that little seed. It all started with that one little sprout that had to break through the dirt, had to break through the ground in order for it to begin to take shape and take root. There are so many lessons. There's so many lessons in just being and allowing yourself to be in nature, that I'm not sure we could ever learn from other people. We can learn a lot from other people. Relationships teach us a lot about who we are and who we aren't. But nature, that added bonus of being a mirror without judgment, we just don't have anything like it. We don't have a comparison in the human side of creation that even comes close. So I'm going to go outside here shortly and just be in that space and allow it to speak to me. Looking at those burned edges, and what are those burned edges in my own life that are trying to drop as leaves do in the fall, for those leaves to drop and to begin the process of birthing something new.